Medical transport documents. The consent and liability form. Good day. Ladies and gentlemen, you must listen carefully. The consent and liability form is a legal document. It has to be completed accurately. This form has to be completed each time that International SOS transports a patient. As we go through the form, you will begin to understand why this form is so important and why we have to complete it properly. Here you complete all of the patient's details. Notice what's missing? The passport number. The following section is the patient's consent. The patient agrees to be transported. It is easy to make a mistake here, so please listen carefully. Let me step away. I consent to the air medical transport from Solo to Jakarta by air ambulance. We all know that the medical care in Jakarta is much better than in Solo. Well, the reason why the patient, or SOS, wants to move the patient to Jakarta is to improve the quality of treatment for the patient. So here the patient is stating the following. I understand that the medical care in Solo is not considered adequate to manage my condition. There are two other options, which are used much less often. In both these cases the patient is being repatriated, or transported to a place of their choosing. Let's look at an example. The patient in this case wants to leave Jakarta and go back home to Solo. That's the patient, understand that the medical care in Jakarta may be considered adequate for my care. However, I request transport to my place of residence. In other words, the patient wants further care close to home. In this case the home is in Solo. In the third option, the patient also wants to go home, or to a hospital near home. Medically, SOS does not recommend this. The third option is usually reserved for the terminally sick patient, and the patient wants to die near home, surrounded by family and friends. We respect the patient's wish. So far, we have learned that you have to select one, and only one, of the three options. You have to complete the last line, in every case. Here the patient states whether he or she is leaving with, or without, the approval of the treating doctor. In this example, the patient is leaving the care of the current doctor, with the doctor's approval. I advise that I am leaving, of my own free will, and not against the medical advice of the treating doctor. Okay, let's move on. In this section, you will find information about the possible risks to the patient. During evacuation, you must be sure that you understand the risks, because you must explain it to the patient. Now, this form is for air medical transport. There are also forms for a ground transport or road ambulance. A high-risk form is used for the critically ill patients. In this section, the patient agrees to be transported. The patient accepts the risks, and agrees that International SOS cannot be held responsible for the risks. The patient understands and agrees that SOS cannot be held responsible for problems beyond the control of SOS, such as bad weather causing delays. The most important part is completed incorrectly, all too often. So please pay attention. Betty signs herself, complete date. Betty prints her name. You print your name, your signature. Complete date. Betty may be too sick to sign the document. In that case, someone else, such as a family member, can sign. In this case, the husband, Mr. Bob, is signing on behalf of Betty. Betty's name does not appear here. Remember, Betty's name is still on the top of the form. Alright then, it's time to look at some examples. Let us focus on this section. Mr. Pick is not in a good place, and the medical care is not good enough for his condition. This is what he needs. It is also what he wants. His medical care is therefore being elevated. He will be evacuated to a hospital in New York. SOS will evacuate Mr. Pick from Zulu to a better place in New York.
That's me, Mr. Pick. I understand that the medical care in Zulu is not considered adequate for the further management of my condition.
You have selected the first option. Congratulations. This is what we select in 90% or more of the cases. Now, you go straight to number 4. Always, let me repeat, we always complete this. No exceptions.
Yes, it's me again. I advise that I am leaving Zulu of my own free will, and not against the medical advice of the treating physician.
You must delete one of the options. Again, in 99.9% of cases, the treating doctor agrees with evacuation. Okay, we're almost done. Let's summarize. The consent and liability form is a written agreement between the patient and International SOS. So how does SOS sign the agreement? You, the doctor, paramedic or nurse, represent SOS, and you sign on behalf of SOS. Very well done. Finally, do not just hand the form to the patient and ask him or her to sign. Explain what they are signing. Thank you so much for your time. Soon, I will ask for more of your time.